What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of my vlog. It's a Sunday night, about 8:30, and I think the theme of this vlog moving forward, as you'll realize, is that I go and play poker whenever I can get the time. I work 2 jobs, I'm married, I got a kid. I don't exactly get to call the shots when it comes to playing. So anyways, up here at Orange City Racing and Card Club in Orange City, Florida. Gonna go play some 1-2 no limit, see if I can make my stacks. Let's go. Before we get started, I thought I would just take a minute to explain who I am and why I'm here and why I'm putting out a vlog. If you're only here for the poker action and you don't really care who I am, you can skip to this mark in the time code and that'll take you directly to the poker action. It was in 2019 when I was watching an old Poker After Dark on YouTube and I saw a suggested video about a poker vlog from a guy named Brad Owen. So I decided to go ahead and check it out and I was instantly hooked. And what made the video so interesting to me was that he was literally coaching me, or the viewer, as he went through the video. He was explaining why he was making the moves he was making, what he thought opponents were doing. That's where I learned about hand ranges and what opponents should have based on where they're sitting and the way the action is taking place. I was very much the type of player before where when holding something like pocket tens on a queen high board, say 3 ways, I just automatically assumed every time that somebody had the queen, no matter what the action was pre-flop, no matter how we got to the situation we were in. I was just one of those players that whenever I saw an overcard, I was very scared and usually ended up mucking my hand. But it was through the introduction of Brad's videos I started to realize that that's not how I should be playing. When watching Brad's videos, I of course was introduced to Andrew Neeme. Through there, I've continued to expand the vloggers that I watch. There's a great vlogger that plays at Orange City Racing and Card Club named Kyle Fischel. I've learned a lot about implied odds and the math that goes behind poker from watching Kyle's vlog. There's of course other guys like Rampage Poker and Lexo Poker who have big followings. Even the guys over at Next Gen and Poker Beast, who though are new, are really starting to put together a following and offer some great content and again some great analysis into the way that they're thinking and the moves that they're making, and more importantly why they're making those moves. They really help me understand the game. Now, when you get to a certain level that the guys like Rampage or Andrew Neeme or Brad Owen get to, those guys are playing 2-5, 5-10, and 10-20. That's way out of my bankroll range. It's a completely different game once you get to 5-10 and 10-20. You're starting to play with a lot more skilled players who think at a lot more professional of a level. And that's kind of the problem that I ran into over COVID in 2020 was I had watched all of the early vlogs of all these guys. And the problem is I was out of content of people who were playing the stakes that I was playing, 1-2 and 1-3. It was getting harder for me to find new videos to break down hand analysis and stuff like that at the stakes that I would be playing. I thought about starting this vlog during COVID. I had a lot of downtime in the beginning, but being a teacher, I had to adjust to teaching in a strictly online format, and it ended up being very time consuming, so I didn't start the vlog then. I played some sessions over Christmas break of 2020. I had a really great session where I won about $250, and I went back the next day to play and I had a terrible session where I lost about $250. And it was on that day, I believe it was December 28th, where I temporarily quit playing poker. I was so tired of the yo-yo swings of having big wins one day and big losses the next, and I couldn't figure out why it was happening to me. So I decided to step away from the game for a little while and really just study. I've pretty much watched every video on Brad Owen's vlog, on Andrew Neeme's vlog, on Rampage Poker's vlog, Poker Beast, Next Gen, Lexo. I've watched all of their vlogs. I've seen all of the action. I've studied the hands and I've studied the way they've gone down. I read 2 books over the break as well, and so I really started to understand things like hand ranges and implied odds and things like that. Areas of my game that had always been weak before really felt strong. So I made my return to poker in February of this year to a home game, and I absolutely cleaned up. Every move I made was the right move. I think that every hand also held up, and that of course always helps things when you're always flipping over winners. But I could just tell in that short 40-day break, I had completely transformed my game and become a new player. So that's what inspired me to do this poker vlog. I'm playing low stakes poker. I'm probably always going to play low stakes poker. And so I wanted to put content out there for all the rest of the people that are just like me, who are maybe recreational players or really starting to try to expand their game or something like that. I wanted to give content at a level that would be easily relatable to them and would be enjoyable to watch at the same time. I am married and I have a daughter as well who's very active in competitive twirling, so I don't get to play as much as I would like to. And this is not going to be a channel like the early Brad Owen channels or like Rampage Poker or Poker Beast. I can't put out a video every other day. That's just not realistic for this channel. So my goal is to release a video about every 5 to 7 days. Just when you think that I've given up on poker and there won't be any more new content, that's when I want to drop the new one for you to watch. I also know that teaching digital media, it's important as a content creator for a site like YouTube to have some material under your belt. There are going to be times where maybe I can't make it to the card room because of my daughter's competitions or the end of a semester and rolling grades over or just getting busy with life. I understand that's going to happen. So I wanted to go ahead and get a couple episodes in the bag and fully produced, so that way in case I run into a situation where I can't go and create content by playing, I'll at least already have some content loaded up that I can still release so that you don't have to wait for that content to get to you. The card room that I frequent often is Orange City Racing and Card Club just outside of Orlando, and I do not have permission from them to film at the tables yet. I'm hoping to get that permission and I'm working with card room management to do so, but right now you're just going to have to stick with some fancy graphics and some video of me recapping the hands. When I play at cash games, I tend to buy in for the max buy-in. Again, I'm only playing games like 1, 2, and 1, 3, so we're looking at $200 and $300 amounts. But I've been watching a lot of poker pros lately on their vlogs talking about buying in for smaller amounts. It changes the way that you think and changes the way you play some of your hands. It'll force you to tighten up a little bit and make smarter decisions. So for this episode, that's exactly what I decided to do. Rather than buying in for the full $200 that I have the option for, I go ahead and buy in for $100, hoping that it'll tighten me up a little bit and help me make smart decisions when playing hands. So, with all of that being said, let's get into some poker action. In this very first hand of my poker vlog, we're in the big blind and we look down at 5-8 offsuit. There's 3 callers to me. When the action gets to me, I go ahead and check it, and so we're off 4 ways to a flop. The flop is ace-5-6 rainbow, so I flop myself bottom pair with a straight redraw. The action checks through, and so we're off to see a turn. The turn is one of my draw cards. It's a 7. The small blind goes ahead and leads out for $10. There are 2 other callers when I decide to go ahead and make the call. So his raise didn't get anybody out of the pot. We're going to the river 4 ways. That river's a 6, and now I have bottom 2 pair, 5s and 6s, and the small blind leads out for $20. He gets a call from a middle position player. I do not think I can continue with my hand any further, so I go ahead and let it go. They both flipped their hands over, and the winner, coming from middle position, actually had ace-7, so he turned 2 pair, and we were drawing specifically to our straight outs, or to another 5 if we wanted to have a chance to win that hand. So, first hand of the vlog is not a winner, but there's going to be many, many more to come. In the next hand, we're on the button, and we're looking down at ace-10 offsuit. The under the gun position player calls, and there's 2 more callers from middle position. I go ahead and raise to $12. The small blind and both middle position players call, and so we're off 4 ways to a flop. The flop is 3-5-8 rainbow, and the action checks to me, and I go ahead and decide to put out a continuation bet playing in position to see where my hand is at, so I bet out $20. The action folds all the way around, and as I muck my hand, the player to my left, who seems like a pretty competent player, makes the comment that I must have been on a big pocket pair. And that's good. I want him thinking that kind of stuff because I was nowhere near a big pocket pair. Whether I'm playing suited connectors, suited gappers, whatever it is, it's great that the way I played the hand apparently misled him to what he thinks I'm holding, and I hope to use that to my advantage as I move on through the vlog. I'm starting to run my stack up a little bit when we're in middle position and we look down at ace-queen offsuit. There's a call from early position, and there's a guy to my right who's been very aggressive, and he makes the call as well, so I go ahead and bump the action up to $13. I get 2 callers, including the aggressive guy to my right, so we're off 3 ways to a flop. The flop is 6-6-8, and the action checks to me, and I go ahead and put out a c-bet of $15, and I get a call from the aggressive guy to my right. The turn is a 7, and we both end up checking, so we're off to see a river, and that river is a 4. It puts a 4-liner to a straight out there, and he goes ahead and checks over to me, so I bet $35. There's no way I'm going to win this hand unless I put some sort of a bet out, so that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to represent that I either have a over pocket pair or that I somehow snuck in there with a 5. And the player to my right actually takes a little bit of time to think about it, and he asks me, "Did you get the straight?" I don't say anything to him, but I'm glad that's what he's thinking. That's one of the images that I wanted to give off. And after some deliberation, he goes ahead and he tosses a calling chip in. I flip my cards over to reveal that I don't have the straight. And he flips over his hand to reveal that he has a pair of eights. So he called me awfully light, especially considering that he thought that I may have had the straight, but he decided to pay for the information, and it turns out he was right on this one. In the next hand, we're in the button, and we look down at Pocket Kings, a premium hand to play from a premium position. There's 3 callers when the action gets to me, and I raise up to $12. I realize that statistically this is 6 times the big blind, and it's a pretty standard raise, but looking back now on the way these 1-2 games play at Orange City, I realize that that raise is way too small, and if I'm really looking to eliminate people, especially some of those early callers, I've got to bump it up closer to $20 or $25. The good news for me is that the big blind has the same idea, and he goes ahead and raises to $35. We get a couple folds before the aggressive guy to my right makes the call, and now I can either call this hand and play it in position, or I can go ahead and 4-bet and try to isolate and get some action. So that's exactly what I do. I shove the rest of my chips in. I'm all in with Pocket Kings on the button. The big blind snaps me off pretty quickly, and the aggressive guy to my right folds. The big blind then asks me if I have aces, and I tell him no, I have kings. He lets out an expletive and lets me know that he has queens. So this is a fantastic position for me to get a double up. I'm a 4-to-1 favorite, and all I have to do is fade one of the 2 queens in the deck, and I should be in good shape. The flop is 6-8-10, so we're already off to a good start. The turn is a 3. At this point, I'm a 95% favorite to win this hand. All I have to do is fade the last 2 queens in the deck, and when the river comes out, it's a... That's right. He spikes his 2-outer on me to scoop the entire pot. And to be fair, the guy was really cool about it. He said he didn't want to win the hand that way. And I actually understand what he's talking about. Like getting my money in way behind, knowing that I'm a huge underdog, only to bank one of my miracle 1 or 2 outers on the river. But when you're having fun and you're at a fun table, I don't enjoy doing nasty things like that to another player. So he was a really good sport about it, but there goes the first buy-in, and it's time to go clear my head and figure out what I'm going to do. Brutal first 40 minutes. Been pretty card dead. Then I got called off light by the guy with 8s when I made that bluff on the river. I get it all in with kings against queens. I only have to fade 2 outs. It always hurts so much more when it's on the river. Time to keep grinding. Gotta make this a smaller loss. Let's go. With a fresh stack of $5 chips in front of me, we're in the hijack, and we look down at King Jack offsuit. There's a call from under the gun, and an early position player raises to $10. The aggressive guy to my right calls. I go ahead and flat here, and the under the gun player and the blinds get out of the way, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. The flop's not bad. It's King Jack 8, but it's all hearts. The early position player pushes the last of his stack in. It's about $40. The aggressive guy to my right calls, and I'm pretty convinced that this is a pretty easy call here. I have 2 pair, and I can redraw to full house outs. If he's playing a medium pocket pair or a large pocket pair like queens or like aces, though unlikely, I'm still in a really good spot here. I don't think that he has a made flush. He could be redrawing to a heart, but I don't think he has a made flush here. So I go ahead, I make the call. It's only $40 more. We get a clean run out, and the opponent turns over ace-9 with the ace of hearts. So he had an over, he had some straight redraw options, and he was drawing to that nut flush. But my hand holds up, and I'm scooping some chips my way. We're in the button now, and we look down at Jack 9 offsuit. There's a couple limpers to me, and I go ahead and limp as well. The blind's complete, and we're going 5 ways to a flop. That flop is 10-9-3 with 2 hearts. The action checks around to me, and I go ahead and throw a bet out of $10. Looking back, I maybe could have sized up a little bit more to try to protect my hand against the heart draw, but it doesn't matter anyways because I get a call from the big blind, and I get a call from the aggressive guy to my right, so we're going 3 ways to a turn. The turn card is an interesting one. It's the 10 of hearts. So now there's a pair of 10s on the board, and the heart draw has gotten there. The action checks to me, and I can make a bet here to try to represent that I have the hearts, but considering I have no redraw to a flush, I go ahead and decide to just check it and see a river. The river's a good one. It's the 9 of clubs. So I've voted up 9s full of 10s. It's definitely not the nuts, but it's still a pretty strong hand. The small blind shoves in for his last $23. The aggressive player to my right gets out of the way, and so this is a pretty simple call for me. I toss the chip in and call. He shows ace jack of hearts, so he ended up making the flush, but it doesn't matter because we've voted and we scoop another moderately sized pot in our direction. We're playing six-handed now, and the dynamics of the table have changed a little bit. A lot of the loose, easy money is gone, and the guy that has sat down directly to my left is straight out of a Marvel action movie. He is a definite villain. He's wearing a full neck gaiter and shade, so you can't really see any of his face. He's completely covered in tattoos, and he sounds like Bane from the Batman movies. You literally cannot understand what he's saying. He's continually talking. I don't know who he's talking to. At times I think he was talking to himself out loud, but he sounds like an absolute bad guy from a movie. So it'll be interesting to see how these hands play out from here. In this six-handed action, we're in the big blind and we looked out at King 10 of spades. There's two calls, and when it gets to the button, he decides to go ahead and raise it up to $13. The aggressive guy to my right makes the call. I want to be in pots with that guy, even though I'm out of position, so I go ahead and make the call as well. The Marvel villain to my left calls, and we get one other call from middle position, so we are headed 5 ways to a flop. The flop is 5 queen 3 rainbow, so I've got a backdoor to a straight, but that's about all I have right here. It checks around to the button, who goes ahead and bets out $20. The aggressive guy to my right calls. This is a spot where I could maybe look to try to make a raise to put a little bit of pressure on the opponent. I should note that there are merits to definitely make a call here. I didn't realize it at the time, but I'm getting about 6 to 1 on making a call. But again, there's so many people to act behind me, including this new villain that sat down next to me. What I don't want to face is a re-raise, knowing that I can't make that call because I don't really have the right equity or hand to make that call. So I go ahead and let it go. The villain does call, and they're off 3 ways to a turn. The turn is a 9 of spades, and it gets around to the button, who goes ahead and gets his last $80 in the pot. The aggressive guy and the villain both call, so we're still off to see a river, and it's going to be 3 ways with 2 ways of action. The river is an 8 of spades, and the Marvel villain to my left gets his last $32 in. The aggressive guy to my right goes ahead and he makes the call. The reason I'm including the rest of my run out is because the way the hand ended up playing out. The winner, which is the aggressive guy to my right, flips over 9-4. The button, who got his stack all in at the turn, flips over ace 10, so he has ace high, and the Marvel villain to my left ends up mucking his hand and mumbling in his really scary voice. So it was really interesting to see just how loose everybody was playing. It's, even though the table dynamic has changed, is why I didn't want to get up from the table, because money is still flying around. I've just got to pick my spot so I can get my chips in there when I'm ahead, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. We're 5-handed now. I'm under the gun, and I look down at pocket queens. I go ahead and open the action for $12. The small blind makes the call, and the aggressive big blind to my right also makes the call, so we're off 3 ways to a flop. The flop is 3-6-8 rainbow. It's a pretty decent flop for pocket queens, but the aggressive guy to my right leads out for $30. But why is he doing this? I don't think he has a set. If he had a pocket pair, I think he would have re-raised pre-flop. That's just how aggressive he is. There's no flush draw on the board that I have to worry about, and the only real straight draw out there is 7-9, which I'm not concerned about either. So this screams to me middle pocket pair, maybe 9s, maybe 10s, something like that, or perhaps he has backdoor straight or flush draw option. I remember back to the previous hand where he got his stack in with second pair, no flush draw, and a weak kicker. And so all this stuff starts playing into my mind. He's built his stack up pretty well, so I think he's getting very confident in his aggression. And at this point, I think he's looking to push people around. But I'm not going to let that happen. He could be making this bet with just about anything, from the solid nuts to absolute air. I don't think there's any merit in calling and seeing a turn, because any safe turn card, I'm probably still getting my entire stack in anyway. So if I'm already behind, that's not going to make much of a difference. I think the only real option here is to rip the rest of my stack in. So that's exactly what I do. I push all in. My hope is that by jamming, I can either get him to fold or I can get him to call me light with something like middle pair with no flush draw out there. And I'm looking for the double up. The small blind gets out of the way, and the aggressive big blind calls rather quickly. I go ahead and table my queens to let him know what he's up against. And that's when he shows me the bad news that he has 6-8. So he's flopped 2 pair, and we're going to need some help here. The turn is a king, so that's not going to do us any good, and the river is a 9. So calling me a little bit light pre-flop, perhaps I could have raised a little bit more, but because we were 5-way, I wanted to ensure I got a little bit of action. The hand did not play out the way I wanted it to. He called me very light. I never saw a 2 pair coming, so it actually ended up being a really good bet by him because he got me to commit my stack. So Episode 1, we're in for 2 buy-ins. Can't seem to find a winner. And the way I see it, if I can't win with queens, I'm probably not going to win tonight. So I go ahead and wrap up my session. Well, that's about as brutal as it can go for a first session. This is probably the worst way to start a vlog, with a huge losing session. Hopefully you'll tune in again and either see me rebound and see that I'm not a terrible player, or you'll just you'll watch me keep punting money off. I don't know, drop a like and subscribe for some reason. So until next time, if there is a next time, we'll see you again.